Welcome to RGBA, where we cover technology news, cool gadget, and do product reviews. This is episode number 34. My name is Alexandre Valère-Lagacé, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tade Ménard. This week, we discuss a couple new devices announced at CES, some rumors, and we do a couple of reviews.
One of the biggest news this week, since it's really slow and it's January, is Sonny Dixon. He posted an article about the beginning of the iPhone. So basically a prototype that was made from the iPod click wheel, and it's like exactly like the iPod interface. So it's just a simple menu, then you can roll around with the click wheel and select messages, contacts, stopwatch. It was supposed to have all the same features as the actual iPod, first iPhone that shipped, but it was just as a joke that Steve put there during the announcement. So it might have been actually true.
Yeah, from what we learned with a few leaks following, not following anything, but since Steve Jobs passed away, we learned that there was actually two teams at Apple that were trying to get the iPhone OS in place. One who was tasked with the conversion of the iPod software for iPhone, and another one who was tasked with do something different and whatever you want. You can start from scratch. So what we see in that Sonny Dixon video, it's probably the first team which was tasked to do a conversion. Of course, this would have never shipped. It was most probably just something just to try and see the user interface and how a touchscreen would behave with a click wheel scenario. So, but still, we heard about it, but we never seen it. And now we have a full video of it. Somebody recorded it. I'm not sure if it's him or if one of his friends who worked at Apple at that time, but it was basically just a little camera on top of an iPhone, and he's displaying the OS.
It's weird also because the thing is a full touchscreen, but you still use a click wheel to move around.
Yeah, it wasn't very adapted. If this was to ship, of course, the dimensions of the different UI elements would be different for sure. But yeah, it's fun to see something from the past like that we only heard in rumors.
I think the code name was Acorn OS.
Yeah, Acorn OS.
There's also a great podcast called Debug, and they have a little mini series. I think it's 3-4 episodes with the guys, what's his name, Don Melton and Nitin Ganatra.
Yep.
And they go through all these history of the beginning of the iPhone at Apple. They were both employees. One was, I think Nitin was working on the iPhone team, and Don Melton worked on the Safari team, so two.
Yeah. And also, if you want more of those reminiscent guys, Don Melton has a special podcast with Guy Ritchie called Just Melton. And I think they're up to episode 9 right now. And once in a while, he brings back tidbits from the past.
It's not Guy Ritchie, it's Rene Ritchie.
Did I say Guy Ritchie?
Yeah, you said Guy Ritchie.
Damn. That should have been a video, not a podcast. All right, so yesterday something fun popped up in my feed. We can now start to see Amazon Echoes and Google Homes being shipped, and people had the nice idea of taking two Google Homes, putting them next to each other, and let them talk. So the guy is live streaming this like for many hours. I think even more than 2 days like that. And apart from a few software glitch where there were server errors and they stopped talking, rest of the time they just exchange verbal cues and jokes, and so it's just fun to see just two Google Homes talking.
Do you know where this is from?
I have no idea. I've only seen the Twitch channel feed being shared at work, and let me see if it's still working right now.
Yeah, it's still working.
Man, And right now, there are still 19,000 people watching. So, and the guy has the written version on the right of the screen, so you can see exactly the whole thing. So it's pretty amazing.
This is the future.
Yeah. Smart assistants talking to each other.
The Google Home is not out in Canada yet, right?
Well, neither is the Amazon Echo. Yeah, these are only US and UK, I think, for now. And I think a third country, which Germany, I think, yeah. Yeah, so not for us yet, but eventually. Well, you can still order them like from eBay, but most of the features like the weather and stuff doesn't work because you have to give it like a US zip code. So from the great mighty CES 2017, there's a few products that came out that are, I would say, very interesting. The first one is from the guys at OWC. So they are makers of third-party RAM, disks, and upgrades for your various Mac computers. And they announced a product called the DEC, which is a 4 terabyte storage, SD card slot, and USB Type-A port, and a gigabit Ethernet port. That actually is not a separate dock that fits on the side. It's basically something you screw on to your computer from below. So you basically just remove the screws from under your MacBook Pro, and using this device that you put in place of the back aluminum slate, you actually have everything inside this little device, and you screw it back on. So it's not something that you take off and put back on regularly. It's kind of fixed. And the CES being CES, people are often just showcasing like product shots that are not yet actual products and stuff. So people were seeing this, then they were saying, yes, but how does it work? There's no wires. Does it like solder to the motherboard or something? So, what we learned after that, the guys from Mac Rumors actually met OWC and they've seen prototypes in person. So basically on the right side where you have the two USB-C ports and the headphone jack, you basically lose one USB-C port because you have the little wire that comes out from the attachment to be plugged in. Also, none of the different product shots show the Ethernet jack. Only one showed the SD card. So it's still, the look is probably not finalized yet. They still need to put the components to the right place and make sure that it's balanced, that it doesn't add too much weight on one side or the other. So it's still very much prototypey, but there's just the idea that this is coming up is pretty interesting. I didn't say anything, but a few months ago when they got their hands, what was it? I think it was the first, the Escape MacBook Pro. They did a little teardown video, OWC, and when they flipped the computer and removed the screws, they said something that relates to extensibility, and I figured, yeah, that's a good idea. They could probably like screw something in place right there, but that stayed like that, and now I can see that this idea or whatever the guy said was probably a bit too much, and now it actually manifests itself in a real product.
I don't know about do you have to take off the bottom panel of the laptop, or you just put it over?
No, you take it off.
You take off so what about like cooling and the fans and everything? That has to be managed also.
Everything is attached to the board or to the top part. The board from under, there's nothing on there. There's no glue, there's nothing. So it's basically just 4 or 6 screws to remove, and that's it.
It's 12. No, it's 9, 8, 10.
10 screws?
Yeah.
You just counted them?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so basically if you unscrew those, there's nothing attached to this little board. So
I mean, there's like slots there at the bottom of your laptop for like exhaust slots if you want for it to cool off when the fans run. I think there's that on the new MacBook Pros also. Yeah,
most probably, but they're probably not going to plug those. It's probably in the design.
Is it 4 terabytes of spinning disk or SSD? You don't talk about that.
With the size that this thing adds, I would say probably could be spinning disk, because SSD would be quite expensive. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be options. So you can probably get this product with different capacities. So it's not set in stone.
And is all this going to cause more heat?
That's a possibility, especially if it's a spinning disc. So they're probably going to have to put like an extra vent on the back and maybe some fans.
Another fan inside the OWC dock case thing?
Yeah. Anyways, it's still very much early on. I'm guessing that they were not able to get this done in time to have the final product at CES, but seeing all the bad press it gets because it had so much thickness, and people are saying that since you moved to the new MacBook Pros, you are getting used to that new slim design and you don't want to go back to a bigger thing. Personally, I wouldn't care. I tried going back to older computers many times in my life, and of course, the few times you pick it up and you put it on your lap, you realize it, but you get used to it so fast. So the added benefit of more ports, SD card reader, more storage could make this a good product. Let's just hope that the design of it and the way, like you say, it fits with the exhaust and everything is not going to be a problem, and no overheating problem, because if you aim those for pros and they run the CPU at 400% nonstop, then there could be potential heat issues. So we'll have to see.
And also, it's like pretty permanent. You can't just say, oh, I'm going for a shoot with my camera, let's bring this adapter. It's like, let's unscrew my whole laptop and stick this thing to it. So
yeah, it's that's the thing that's attractive to this product, is that it's not something you need to tag along. It's you install it once and you forget it. Kind of like when you were replacing your DVD drive in the old MacBook Pros with a second hard drive. So once you get all this thing installed and configured, you just forget about it and it's part of the computer. So your computer is now thicker with more ports forever.
So I think we had more CES news.
There's so many CES news. It's kind of crazy a bit. So if you've been around with the smart stuff for a while, you've known that before HomeKit, before Alexa, before many of those, there was a couple of sensors, a couple of devices that were using two different protocols, Zigbee and Z-Wave, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, were using RF, so radio frequencies for communication. And once this first generation has passed, we then moved on to Wi-Fi powered devices, and then specific devices that need specific hardware to be in the HomeKit program. So over the years, geeks like us tend to accumulate a bunch of different devices, and of course, none of them talk to each other. It's all independent technology, software, or ecosystems. But now there's a company who's bringing out a hub. It's called a Mixstyle, which is a smart hub that is allowing you to use HomeKit and Siri. So basically, it's an MFI certified product that is designed to connect to Zigbee and Z-Wave products. So basically, all those, let's say, I don't know, there was a bunch of them that were used in the hotel industry and everything. So for shades and for smart switches and stuff like that. So you could now just continue to use those, but instead of using little remotes or stuff like that, or timers, whatever, it's now going to be able to be connected using HomeKit and Siri. And you can talk to Siri to, I don't know, open the lamp, close the shades or whatever. So kinds of give you like a second life of all those little devices that have been dropping in price quite extensively in the past years. So if you still have those, or if you want to go hunt on eBay for older products, this could be like a good time to equip yourself with many devices for not such a big sum of money.
So it's like an adapter for everything.
Well, the two main like RF protocols were Zigbee and Z-Wave, and especially Z-Wave, I've seen like a ton of product using those. So I think they have like a list here, like Honeywell, GE, Schlage, D-Link, First Alert, and like even the Logitech Harmony remote, Cree light bulbs, G light bulbs. So there's lots of stuff that have been using these protocols. So now being able to bridge the gap is a good idea, and it's a good product for many people. And the Mixstyle Hub will be priced at $150 and available around March.
It looks a lot like the Ubiquiti Wi-Fi routers things.
Yeah, you're right.
It has the same color and everything.
Then after that, we saw a little Apple Watch dock that was finally released. It's called the W3 stands for Apple Watch 1 and 2, which supports 9 stand, of course. And in what shape is that little device, Tyler?
Like the original Mac. So it's basically a big piece of rubber. I think it's really flexible rubber from the screenshots that they show on their product page. And the Apple Watch fits snugly inside, mimicking the screen of the original Macintosh.
Yeah, Lego had a series of nightstand mode compatible holder for your Apple Watch for a couple of months already, and they just took this idea, which is the silicone rubber thingy, and they just changed the shape to make it look like a original Mac. So pretty nice. It's available in beige and it's black and in black.
Original beige.
Yeah. So they call it white, but it's mostly beige than white.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're waiting for review units very soon, so we'll be able to report back on that.
Another thing from CES that I saw, a 32-inch Dell 8K display.
8K?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just like it because this is CS. CS
Jeez.
is like excess and everything, and they used to be big on 3D TVs a couple years ago, and now Dell just announced an 8K monitor.
Yeah, I'm seeing this, the UP32 18K.
Yeah.
8K. Okay, so what do you need to power that? Oh yeah, it's gonna be probably like the first 4K displays. It's gonna be restricted to like 30 hertz or something. So basically, forget about movies. Oh no, 60 hertz. Jeez. Okay.
It's gonna need like 16 USB-C cables.
Wow, $5,000. So 31.5 inch, 7680 by 4320, which is
Huge.
Quite huge. 280 ppi. 100% of the RGB spectrum, 100% of the sRGB, 100% of the Rec 709, and 98% of DCI-P3, and more than 80% of the Rec 2020, which is another standard for coloring that comes from the video industry. So I'm guessing that this is probably aimed at professionals working on movies and stuff like that. 9.7 millimeters bezel, 2 display ports, 4 USB, can tilt, pivot, swivel, and height adjustment, of course, as it's being Dell, and $5,000 for a price point.
Does anything shoot in 8K?
Yes, the red cameras.
Okay, so it's really aimed at professionals.
Yeah, but it's kind of like when 4K came out, they quickly had 4K cameras, but it was not to shoot in 4K, it was to shoot in 4K and then crop back to 1080. Let's say they wanted to change the framing of a shot, they would be able to crop it and then resize to 1080. So okay. I'm guessing that apart from a few tech demos, there's not really much being filmed in 8K. And if they are using 8K cameras, it's only to crop afterwards in post-production.
Okay, because 4K is just starting. Like in the TV market for normal people. Yeah,
and you still need to find content. Apart from Netflix and a couple of upscaled Blu-rays, there's not like the real 4K stuff yet, and not even close to be thinking about 8K.
Sports on TV is starting to be 4K.
Yeah, but TV, it's a special snowflake because TV provider compress the signal so much that yes, you do have a 4K resolution, but you lose everything else. So they can brag about their 4K TV, but the content that they're providing is, first of all, it's often not 10 bits of color. It's always back to the old 8 bits, like 1080p. And there's absolutely no HDR, and there's nothing else for the white color gamut. So you basically get like the resolution, so you can tell that you have a 4K display, 4K content, but you're far from offering the 4K experience as intended by the standards.
Okay, so I just wanted to share this because it's typical CES of
Yeah.
something stupid that we won't see before like 10 years.
Oh yeah, like the Faraday car.
Yeah, at least 10 years.
Yeah. So speaking of the displays, let's come back to something that's much more feasible than an 8K display. There are rumors that Samsung and Sharp will start supplying Apple with EXO panels, which will be used in the next MacBook Pros. And according to the rumors, these parts could be in place in new products as soon as mid-2017. So basically, Apple might be rushing to release a new version of the new MacBook Pro. One thing I know is that Intel announced new chips that are starting to be available for manufacturers. So probably that this is one of the reasons behind giving out new products mid-cycle. Well, mid-cycle. The cycle is so large that it's not even mid, but a couple of months after a revision of the product. So the EXO panels are basically just better quality, better image, color accuracy and all. It's just that for many, many years, they've been trying to get the price of manufacturing down because it's way more expensive to produce. And also the percentage of bad units when in production is quite high. So these are two factors that prevented Sharp and Samsung for using those. But maybe they found a way, and this should be quite interesting. If you remember a few years ago, the iPad Air size and battery were reduced by 25% compared to previous models, and that was because of the EXO display. That makes the difference. So we can probably see that in those big 15-inch and 13-inch MacBook Pros, if you can lower the screen power requirements by 25%, you could fix the batteries issue, and you could fix or give people who don't have any issues a lot more power. So.
And also, I think Intel released the KB Lake, they're calling it.
That's the one, yeah, I think.
So we might see the CPU jump upgrade as well as a screen at the same time at WWDC or something like that.
So yeah, the Kaby Lake processors were announced this week in CES, and they're the first to break that Tic Toc model that Intel was using in the past years, usually making a new architecture, and then the following model would optimize the architecture and give you power savings. Yeah, so this one is, instead of being a TOC, which would be a same manufacturing size but performance enhancements, not performance enhancements, battery enhancements. This one is, again, a TIC, so it's basically a new architecture, a new power with the same performance per megahertz.
So Intel is now copying Apple, releasing a Tic Toc Toc, like they did with the iPhone design.
Yeah, Tic Toc Toc. That's a new thing. Yeah,
it's a new release program thing.
If it works, why not? Yeah, so that's it for CES. Well, not really. There's thousands more products, but these are just a few that surfaced during this week. There's one more rumor. The Apple Watch refresh would come next fall. So basically, again, no design change. So it would be a Tic Toc 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 Toc. So the exact same casing, the exact same design, nothing changed there. Performance enhancement, of course, probably a new CPU, a new system on the chip. They're potentially speaking about micro LED displays, which would be thinner and lighter, but if the size doesn't change, they might use the savings in space to put a bigger battery. But seriously, from the reviews I've read, the Series 2 is so much better in terms of battery that I don't see this being useful for anyone, unless maybe athletes who train like 10 hours per day and they want to track everything. Then they probably need to recharge the battery like midday. But other than this very specific low percentage piece of the market, I don't see a bigger or better battery being such a high on the priority list. I would prefer a slimmer design.
I just hope they never go away with the way the bands work.
Yeah, well, that would be so stupid because there's so many bands. There's so many like limited editions bands.
But it's gonna happen.
Why? Why? Because it's so small. Look at the space it takes on your wrist.
Yeah, but it's wide.
The width won't change, so the screen size will probably never change, but the thickness can change.
That's what we said about the iPod too. Yeah, the iPhone.
Well, the iPhone can always be thinner.
I know, but these are the thing is wide and it's also thick. It takes a lot of room in the case.
Yeah, but take your Apple Watch, put it on the side. Look at all the space that goes below the watch band connector. It's very thick over there. So for all the sensors and everything. So imagine you take, let's say, 2 millimeters off from that part, and then you change the angle so that the watch band is a bit straighter with the screen. You can still shave some more millimeters on top, and you can have the same attachment. It's just that it's going to be in a different position, and it's still pretty thin. So I'm sure that I'm sure it cannot be ever. You can never be sure, but I'm hoping that Apple is smart about that and it will never change that. Well, maybe not in the coming first couple of years, at least.
It's gonna happen. Brace yourself.
Yeah, but it's a fashion accessory, and you tend to have many bands. You do, I do. Some people have like actually cases of bands. So that would be so stupid to just drop that and do something totally different. It would make no sense.
And also, I feel like this is gonna last a long time before I want a new one, because the performance is not really important. As long as it displays notifications and tracks my workout, it's pretty much good. I don't really care if it takes, I use Siri anyways all the time on it, so I don't care if it takes a bit more time to open the stopwatch or anything. So
yeah, because you tend to have your couple of apps in the dock, which are the ones that you use, and that's basically it. But do you think that if it was instant on for any app that you would use, maybe not the honeycomb, but maybe you would have like a bigger dock with many more apps? No? Okay. I can always go with faster. This is what the iPhone 6s to 7 series, yeah. The iPhone 6s to 7 models teach me this year is that for the first year, since I'm my first iPhone, the 6s Plus I had was not slowed. It was not giving me an impression of it being slow and requiring a faster model or something. It was the first time that I felt this way. And then when I got the 7, I was super happy because it was even faster. But it did not affect me as much if I went back to the 6S Plus. The speed impression was there, but it was not felt from the previous generation. So people were not feeling the need to upgrade because after a year, their phone slowed down because of the new iOS version or something. So this was the first time it happens, but the watch is not the same. I still have sometimes I get, let's say, like a buzz on my wrist and I quickly look, and it can take like a couple of hundreds of milliseconds before I can see the notification pop up. So that's a slowdown. And if I open like the Starbucks app, there's a slowdown. And of course, the now playing is quite fast, but still, when you often load it and you have the previous and next arrows instead of the overcast 30-second plus or minus. So there's still some places where performance can be improved. And this I would like to see in future model. That's a good avenue to make the product better. And the thickness, that should be reduced. So whenever Apple aims with their MacBook Pros at 10 hours, and if they do any changes into the architecture or the CPU, and they can get 2 extra hours of battery, they just remove some thickness of the device to go back to that 10 hours. So that's like their baseline, and that's what they're aiming for. So hopefully the watch is the same. So maybe this fall update will be like the new baseline, which will be X numbers of hours, X numbers of power cycles, whatever. And then from now on, if they can get better, they're just going to make the watch thinner, because it still is quite big. And recently I removed the case I had on my watch, and it's a lot thinner, so that's appreciated. It feels like a new watch, so that's fun. But still, it can get a little thinner, I would say. So.
But I don't know about, I don't care about the thinness. I don't know. It's a watch. Have you ever seen other watches? They're all huge anyways.
Yeah, but I've never liked those. I always had like regular size watch and not those big super bulky. So for me, whatever watch I had before were Timex sports watch or a bit nicer watch after that, but they were always, yes, big, but not as big as those belt bucket size.
Belt buckle, yeah. I'll send you. A friend just got a new watch for Christmas. I'll try to get a comparison shot of both on my wrist. You'll see it's pretty funny.
You'll have a ring on your wrist compared to him?
Yeah, it's stupid. I'll show you.
So with CES being unveiled this week, there was one product that I had in my possession for a couple of weeks now, and I was under NDA, so I could not talk about it, is Linksys' first entry into the mesh networking product. So basically, you've heard about the Eros of this world, which is basically small little devices that you plug around your house, and they talk to each other, and they cover the whole house with Wi-Fi. And the point of this is offering you like no dead zone and no need to include some dumb network extenders. So basically what these are is they are always the same kind of device. They are like each node is its own individual router, and they basically map your house and they calculate the fastest route for traffic to go to and from your modem. So basically it's never really a straight line. It's always changing, always adapting. So this was a big product last year. Hero was the first, I think, to bring out a product, and now there's more companies. And Linksys also finally is in this category. So what is the Linksys Velop, VELOP? It's mesh network, like I said. So it's basically a kit. It comes in 1, 2, or 3 packs. It's basically just a little tower, which is the router itself, and a power brick. So what you basically do is you plug it in next to your modem or whatever means your connection comes into your house. And then you try to guess first if you need 1, 2, or 3. Usually I would say that 2 is pretty sufficient for small houses, and 3 when you have, let's say, distant parts of the house like the garage, or maybe if you want to go all the way to your backyard, then 3 could be better. So you basically plug the first one, you open the iOS app. I think the Android app is coming out very soon, if it's not already out yet. I was on the beta for the iOS app. And then you follow the little wizard tutorial. So you basically just click next. It detects your first Velop. And the cool thing is that instead of having to configure it by connecting to the predefined Wi-Fi network, it's using Bluetooth. So basically you plug it in, you just launch the app, and the app detects the Velop, and then they do the pairing, and then it configures it. And once it's done, you go to the next one. You plug it in, you hit add a new node to the network, and it does the same thing. So basically, the app is quite slow to do all the pairing and optimization, because it does a lot more than just pairing. It detects the surrounding nodes, and it adapts to the physicality of your house, if you want, and adapts the signal and everything. So that's why it's a bit longer. Maybe it takes about 20 to 25 minutes for 3 to be fully set up and everything. So, and then once it's done, no matter where you are in the house, you have a better signal. Let's talk about the device itself first. Like I said, it's a little tower. The tower itself is quite nice. I would say it fits nice on a shelf, kind of like a Sonos speaker kind of design. So very minimalistic. It's white. It's kind of like a curved rectangle prism, kind of. And basically the connection comes in from a corner on the base of the little tower. You got 2 Ethernet ports. For the first node, one of these ports will be used as the WAN port, and the second one can be used for the LAN port. And even the power connector, the 12 volt power connector, is, instead of being like a straight cylinder, it's actually curved so that it can go out of the little holder on the corner where the wires came out of the device. So everything has been thought pretty well. So this is a very nice device. So I've set up in my house. Just for those of you who are not aware of, my house is a 2 stories plus a basement, and my router is in my basement. So, well, the modem is in my basement. So that's always where I plug my routers, and that's like the ground zero, if you want, of my connection. It's centered in the house, and it's in the basement, so it's in the machine room, like Tyler used to say.
Yeah, the machine room.
And from there, basically, I add one, which was in like one extremity of my house on the main floor, and the third one, I installed it at the opposite side of my house on the second floor. So try to get like a kind of like a C pattern, if you want, to be sure that I cover everything from everywhere. So now moving on to the actual benchmark of this. As I'm usually doing with my routers and network stuff, I use iPerf, which is a performance app that runs on my NAS, which is connected to a link aggregated 4 Ethernet ports. So it can crank out at most, I think, in the 300 megs per second. So it's a good benchmark for testing Wi-Fi, because reading and writing from that to that, it's pretty amazing. So I tried the Velop compared to my previous router, which is in Airport Extreme. So Airport Extreme, in a straight line from the living room downstairs in the basement, I usually get around 70 megs per second. So the Velop, which is installed in the same place, I get 48. So it's about maybe 20% slower in straight line. Why is that? After doing the test, I read that the Airport Extreme is a 1900 megabits per second, and the Velop is 2876. So, and they usually use one exclusively to go back up the network to the internet. So that's why from a straight line, from the same position, it's about 20 to 25% slower, because it's not an as powerful antenna as the Airport Extreme has. But that's where the difference is on the advantage of the Airport Extreme. But after that, if you go further, let's say I move to my main floor, instead of getting 15 megs per second like I do with the airport, I get 28 megs. So it's almost twice as fast on the main floor in the kitchen. And then if I go to the second floor, which I usually go down to about 6 to 9 megs on the second floor, now I get 18 megs solid at both places. So I can safely assume that this 18 megs is probably the slowest the network can go. And it's quite nice, because 18 megs per second can easily stream 4K movies, maybe 3 4K movies easily, because I think Netflix requires 2.5 or something. So yeah, it's not as powerful close range, but the further you are, the better the Velop is, in my opinion.
So that's the principle of the mesh networks. It's not as strong, but it's more consistent around everywhere.
Well,
around the
for
house.
now it's not as strong, because this being like a new product, they don't put like as powerful antennas as they can, because it's already expensive. But once you get second and third generations of the device, you'll probably get that 867 megabits antenna switched for a 1200, and then you will be able to see that you still have the same range, but you have better performance. So basically, in summary, the range is excellent. Setup is super easy. Design is very nice. Love the features. Performance in distant rooms is up. It's amazing. The only thing that I don't like is that there's not enough advanced settings. And since this device had an NDA, I published my review on the morning of the 3rd at 7 o'clock. And at the same time, a bunch of others, people like The Verge and stuff, published theirs. And we had all the same conclusions, basically that the setup is easy, For people who just want like a network with zero hassle, perfect. But for geeks who are actually quite used to configuration and stuff like that, there's a bunch of features missing. So it's basically you plug it in, it works, plug and play like they say, and that's it. But geeks like us need to customize the network a bit more, and there's not enough features there. And also the line of sight performance. So if you're on a straight line on the same floor and you can see from your computer, you can see the network device, the performance is not up to bar because it's still a smaller antenna.
So Linksys also provided they also released two new routers, the WRT 13, was it 3200 ACM? Yeah. And
exactly.
The EA 9500. So those are two single routers. They're not a mesh network or nothing. They're more the traditional routers if you want. And we both have one of those, so we're going to be able to talk about them in a couple of weeks.
Yep, just the time. Because right now I just switched this week to the EA 9500, and you got the big WRT. So
Yes.
we just need to do our performance testing, reliability testing, and make sure that everything is fine, and write the review. So that will be coming up in the next weeks. The two other devices that I got my hands on this week, I'm pretty happy about those, is the Studio Neat Canopy and the Studio Neat Material Dock. These are the latest two products from Studio Neat. Tom and Dan design and manufacture most of the components of these little devices. The first one, the Canopy, this one is a kind of a pouch for your Magic Keyboard, I would say. It's you install your Magic Keyboard in there, and you just flip the protection around and snap it with a regular snap, if you want. And what this do is that you can unfold it, snap it the other way around, and then you can rest your iPhone, iPad, even the big iPad Pro on this, and this makes it for a holder for your iPad and a kind of a dock for your keyboard if you want. And the way that this is smart is the angle is pretty nice. I've started to use it this week, so the installation is very nice. You basically, there's like two little kind of like, the elevation dock use the same kind of thing. It's a rubber pad that is actually grippy and kind of like tape, but you can wash it and restick it to the surface. So it uses that to keep your Magic Keyboard in place. And the iPad just fits right next to it and rests on the little triangle shape. You had a comment that you asked me a few weeks ago. You were scared that the Magic Keyboard aluminum would scratch the iPad itself.
Yep.
So basically, it does not. The way it's angled at, it's not directly in contact with the sharp edge. It's mostly resting against it, but not directly on it. So I'm not afraid about that. Also, you can always position your keyboard a little bit more to the front so that you have a little bit more space between the keyboard and the canopy. So this way, if you look at the website, the watch the video part where there's a video, the angle there is kind of scary, but it's not as bad in real life. So I'm not so afraid of that. Once you're done, you just put your iPad in your bag and you just fold it back, snap it, and your keyboard is good to go. So right now I'm using this with my computer on my desk, and I have the keyboard still stuck to the canopy. So the canopy is there standing straight, but there's no iPad on it. So the quality is there. The materials are nice. They took good care into choosing the leather, and this really looks like they took good care of it. The material is very nice also. So yeah, I would say there's not much to say about this. And on the negative sides, the size is perfect for any iPad, going from the big one to the smallest one. Yeah. The only thing is that you need a Magic Keyboard. So if you don't have one, it's another $129 you have to add on top for that. But other than that, if you already have one, it's a perfect companion. and you don't need to remove the keyboard from the case if you want to use it with your computer. So I just leave mine in, prop it up, and that's it. All right, so the second product, also from Studio Neat, is the material dock. This one is an iPhone dock and an Apple Watch dock. There is two models available, one just for the iPhone and one for the iPhone and the watch, which is the one I got. So basically, it's a circular puck made of wood, which is, I think it's machined in their own garage directly. And then there is two parts of cork, one for the where your iPhone will rest against, and one for the Apple Watch. And basically, the super smart thing in there is that they designed this in a way that, yes, it uses the generic Apple lightning cable and the puck. Many companies do that. It's not super different. But the way that they machined the piece of wood with the brass screw-in connectors is that everything is adjustable. Especially for the phone, you can really get, like, let's say you go caseless or you go with a super big janky case. Well, no problem. This thing can move back and forward for maybe, I would say, a good 10 millimeters easily. So you can really get like the perfect angle, the perfect resting position. So when you're ready to dock, you just touch the cork and just slide it down and it connects perfectly. The lightning cable is the same thing. You pass it through a little hole with a little holder and a screw. And once you get the perfect height, you just tighten the screw and it fits perfectly, and it's going to stay like that forever. So, and then you just pass the cable through like a little loop that they carved in the wood so that it comes out of the back of the holder. And again, you get those micro suction little pads below so that you can leave it on your desk and you can dock and undock with a single hand. So this was the first Studio Neat product I've gotten that required a video tutorial to install and set up. So once you open the box, you got a little paper that says go to this URL to view the video, and you have the guys that explain exactly, okay, first take this piece, then do this and that, and it really takes like a good 5 minutes and everything is set up, so works super fine. The only downside I can think of right now is that I had to remove my watch from the case I had, which is the reason why I got caseless with my Apple Watch, is that because the watch case adds a couple millimeters in width because it's thicker on the sides, when I was placing the watch on the dock, it was not charging. So basically I had to actually remove that. I could have probably take the cork piece and pull it out a bit, but figured that it's not worth it. And since I'm going caseless on my phone for the first time in many years, I should as well go caseless on the Apple Watch. So,
but the case fits. The iPhone case fits if you on the dock, right?
Yeah, because you can raise or lower the connector, and you can move the cork stand back and forth. So right. You can really get the perfect fit. So I tried it to plug my phone in at night in the dark, and I was able to do it even better than with other docks. I would say that because of the shape it is, and the cork with my pinky, I can feel it. I can be pretty good at aiming for it. So then once I'm on the cork part, just sliding down gets me almost 100% in the perfect position. So it's very close. So it's not as easy as with the elevation dock, which is made a certain width with the iPhone 6 and 6S and older, but it's close. For a regular dock that doesn't have any guides on the side, it's pretty cool. And for the watch bar, it's super easy. You just put it there and it sticks with the magnets. So that's not very hard. Yeah, basically that's about it. If you have a woven nylon watch band, you cannot do the full circle. You have to leave your watch unattached if you want. So you cannot just like make a circle with the band and drop it on top and slide it down, it doesn't fit. So you need to just remove the band and put it directly on the connector and the side, the two bands flapping on the sides. So like you see in the picture, you with your fancy bracelet, you can probably just make it a circle and a wide circle.
Yours is a band, and mine is a fancy bracelet.
Well,
bracelet.
It is. It's all shiny and metal-y.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's for this. So yeah, basically got a circle shape if you want the watch and Apple iPhone, and it's a rectangular shape if you only have for the iPhone. So
it's nice pieces of wood, I guess. The piece of wood is nice, as always.
They take really good care in choosing the grain of the woods and the color and everything. So in my bedroom, it's the perfect color because it fits the nightstand and everything, as you will see this week in the review written on the blog. But yeah, the wood is fine. There's little chamfered edge on the rectangular model. On the circular model, I don't think there is. Maybe just on the bottom. But yeah, it's finally made. So that's for sure. The cork is nice. Cork from Portugal, so that's cool. But the smart thing is, like I said, it really is on the underside, which you don't see really. Just the way that they drilled the holes and everything, they put all the brass things in, so it's very, very, very nice. So
and it doesn't come with the cable, and you can replace the cable.
No, you have to provide your own cables. So you have to use your iPhone and Apple Watch charger for that. So if you're thinking of having like a dock for your bedroom and your office, you need two things. All right, so that is it for this week. So thank you for watching. Yeah, thank you for watching. That's nice.
It's very visual.
Yeah, very visual with my air quotes and everything. Yeah. So thank you for listening. You can find the show notes at RGBAfm/34. And we'll be back next week with more news, more reviews, and more stuff.
See you next week.
Have a nice week.